Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. Both Lumen and TDS have announced that they're going to be rolling out 8 gigabit per second fiber in a couple of different places. So I'll be right back and we'll look at those details. Hey there, Rick Uzzi with Zcorm for Broadband Deployment News. So I saw two stories, same day. I don't know if they were, about the same day, about two operators that are doing 8 gigabits per second. So you see here, Lumen plans quantum fiber services up to symmetrical 8 gig in 18 cities. So I'm not a lot of details here, but it looks like it's going to be 18 cities in the U.S., rates up to 8 gig symmetrical and whole home Wi-Fi coverage. And you can see the locations here in Idaho. Got Fort Myers, Naples, and Orlando in Florida. I'll take a look at Fort Myers here in a minute. Colorado Springs, Denver, etc. So Vancouver, Washington. Most of the 18 cities were highlighted in a list of target markets that they announced in November. It says also Denver, Minneapolis, and Seattle were revealed as the inaugural 3 markets for quantum fiber when Lumen unveiled the 8 gig capabilities last August. Lumen believes it's on track to connect more than 500,000 homes and small businesses with quantum fiber this year. So that's Lumen. And then you've got TDS here. TDS to deliver 8 gig fiber broadband in Maine. They've operated Maine since 1971. In addition to its own money, they're leveraging funds from the Alternative Connect America program for fiber rollouts in the state. So that's a Maine funding program, probably very possibly funded by some government dollars, maybe Capital Projects Fund or something like that. So it says they've launched several fiber to the home deployment projects in Maine. Fiber broadband service provider adds that it will boost the transmission rate of its top service tier in the state to 8 gigs. It says it started fiber deployments in Franklin and Somerset counties, including, it's got different places it started here. And then it talks about the ones that complement already initiated builds in other places in Maine. So that's pretty much it right there. So I just think it's interesting that both these operators are announcing 8 gigs. So I think what's happening there is in some places, I think they're actually rolling out fiber to start with, because both of these were basically telephone operators that were, providing telephone service and DSL. And in some places, they've got gig fiber now, but in other places, when I was looking at the broadband map, they've got DSL service. And it could be that they're upgrading their fiber plant and they're putting an XGS PON, which is 10 gigabit per second PON. And nobody really needs that. Nobody really needs 8 gig. But this is a way for them to come to the market and say, hey, we've got the fastest service around. So if somebody like Comcast is there, Xfinity, they can say, hey, they're providing gig service. We can provide 8 gig symmetrical. Now, nobody's probably going to buy that, because if you can get gig fiber service, why would you buy 8 gig fiber service? Gig is plenty fast. So they're going to have that plan. I couldn't find pricing for it yet. They'll have that plan, and it's going to be, I would think, significantly higher than their 1 gig plan. So I don't think they expect a lot of people to sign up for their 8 gig plan. It could be that they'll have a small home, like a Soho small home business, small home office business, whatever they call it. So that's certainly possible, but most even small home businesses would really probably not need 8 gigs. So again, it's a marketing thing. I think both companies are doing that. They're both, like I say, it's going to be XGS PON, because the cost of XGS PON compared to putting in just GPON, a 1 gig PON, has come down. And what people can do now is they can get the XGS PON cards and they can just put them in there, and it can do either. So it can do 1 gig. Generally, it can do 1 gig or they can do 10 gig. And they're going to put the cards in there. And then in most cases, they're going to be marketing the 1 gig product. And if somebody really needs the 8 gig product, could do up to 10, I guess, then they would sign up for that and they can turn that on. But again, most people won't do that. But that's nice. That's nice that they can go ahead and put the equipment in now and be prepared for the future. But as I've said before, if you can give people a lot more bandwidth, and if you do, they might not necessarily need it, but then they'll use it. And if they use it, then it's just driving your costs up. So the more people they put on these really high-speed plans, the more their cost is going to go up. And when I see I was comparing that to somebody who maybe is doing a 100 meg symmetrical now, or maybe something like that, and then they raise everybody to a gig. They might think, well, we're just going to raise them to a gig. Well, there's going to be some impact from that as you give people more bandwidth because they're going to use it. And a lot of times it's not them so much that's using it, it's all the applications that they're using that are going to use it because they don't necessarily care. So like streaming applications will go ahead and say, wow, look at all this bandwidth. I'm going to go ahead and use the absolute best possible quality that I can, when people wouldn't know, on the gig plan they had, or excuse me, on the 100 meg plan that they had in the gig plan, they wouldn't really notice the difference as they're watching the video. But those applications will eat more and more as you give it to them. So it's just something to be aware of as an internet service provider. So I checked pricing. Again, I couldn't find anything. So this is TDS. And if you look at their main page, you see 2 gig, 1 gig, 600 meg, 300 meg, 100 meg. And you don't see anything about the 8 gig on here yet. So I'm sure they'll be adding that. But they don't offer these in all places anyway. You can see here availability varies by location. So I did look up. You can't actually click here and shop unless you put an address. So I found an address in Maine where they provide service. I put that in and it says, hey, your location qualifies for lifetime pricing on internet. So internet as low as $59.99 for life. That's nice to know that your price isn't going to go up. But in general, internet prices haven't gone up. I mean, if you've got cable TV bundled with your internet, and you keep seeing the price go up because the cable TV goes up because all the programmers are raising all of their pricing. But internet in general has not gone up. Actually, prices have come down, or they've remained the same. And in fact, your prices remain the same and your service provider increases your speed. So I've been paying the same for my fiber connection for several years, and the speed I think has gone up twice. So they can make that claim pretty comfortably. And they can either raise the price later and give people a little bit more speed for the same price, or maybe they'll, instead of an 8 gig plan, they might come up with a 2 gig plan and have that a little bit higher and hope that people upgrade to that. So I don't think they have any issues leaving this price where it is. So that's a nice thing that you can tell people, because people are used to prices going up, especially these days with inflation. So you can tell them, hey, price isn't going up. It's for life at $60 a month. That's a good price for a gig. So good price from TDS here. You can see they've got a phone line with internet for $71.95. Got dish TV and phone $134.90. That's internet, dish and phone. So triple play $135 approximately. Just the internet and TV without the phone $156. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. So this just says, interesting. This just says high-speed internet connection. It doesn't say. This one says high-speed internet too. High-speed internet. This one says high-speed internet. I was trying to think it was different. Must be a different package, TV package or something. I don't know. This is $135 for internet, TV, and phone. This is $156 for internet and TV. Must be something different there. And then we got internet and phone for about $55. So again, main internet. The only one they're showing is this 1 gig plan. It says as low as $60. So I was like, well, maybe there's a 2 gig, maybe they've got other plans in here, but they don't. So maybe that's if they have other plans in a particular area, but they don't here. When I clicked on this, view other plans, all I get is internet only. Oh, it's this, yeah, internet only and internet phone, and it's basically still a gig. So I don't know what that is. Then I looked at, this is Quantum Fiber. I think I did look at a particular address here as well. And you can see they've got 2 plans, 200 megabits per second for $50 and up to 940 for $65. So they don't say a gig, which is interesting, maybe because maybe they can deliver, or maybe it says it's a gig and they're saying, well, we're going to say 940. So as people do speed tests or whatever, they're at least getting 940 or something like that, because the gig is probably the top kind of thing they can do. So they're being a little bit conservative there, I think. And you can see here again, unlimited data. I think the other one was unlimited as well on a 99.9% reliable network. So no annual contract. That's nice. So that is Quantum's. And then I went ahead and looked at both these areas. I tried to find some areas in Maine and then here for Quantum in Fort Myers where they were delivering. I think in Maine, I've lost that on the map. I don't want to go find it again. But I think if I recall, they did have fiber in some areas, but in other areas they were lower speeds, like in copper. And then this is in Fort Myers, so you can see here. Let me get that off of the map there. So I was looking at this address. So you see Lumen is listed as copper where I was looking. They may have fiber in some of these areas, but I see Lumen here, copper 80 by 10. But this is going to vary depending on where you are. So if I click here, whoops, well, I'll get back there. Where to go here? I think I've got everything expanded. I'm not sure. Oh, no coverage. That's not a green dot. There we go. So here I've got, see, you've got Comcast at 1200. You don't have Lumen there. This was the one that had Lumen. So again, I've got Comcast at 1200. I got Lumen at 80. Again, with this being DSL with Lumen, if I go over here somewhere, now I've got 10. So DSL is a technology where the further you get away from the central office or your DSLAM, wherever that happens to be located, I guess it could be out in the field. That's your DSLAM is the equipment that you would have in the central office that everything connects up to, or again, maybe out in the field in a pedestal or something like that. So further away you are from that, the slower your speeds are going to get. So you see 10 by 1 there, and as I click around some of these are all going to be 10 by 1. Let's see. That's 0.2 by 0.2, so we're getting further away here. So you can see the service from Lumen just gets worse and worse. And this is what we have throughout the country in areas that are unserved. Quite often, it's legacy telephone companies that had DSL that at the time everybody was like, wow, this is really fast internet. DSL, it's awesome, because they were used to dial-up, right? But then, wow, through the same copper wire, the same twisted pair going into the home, you could go from dial-up to DSL, and you could get really good speeds. But in this case, they're getting 0.2 megabits per second right there. And let's see what else we got. There's 40 by 3. So again, probably getting closer to a central office here on this end of this street somehow. There you got 10 by 1. So it varies. So they're having to report all that. As they report this, they've got to report what's available. So again, this is part of the problem of why so many areas are unserved, because they are covered by phone companies, be that AT&T, and some larger swaths of, a national provider that's still got DSL that they're trying to build out fiber, or independent telephone companies that have been upgrading, that still have some DSL. A lot of the independents have been upgrading faster than the national ones because that's their home turf, and they realize they've got to protect that. Plus, that's the community they live in, so they're trying to get, there's small independent telephone companies that might cover just a small town or a couple towns. A lot of times they get upgraded faster, but some of these larger ones, that's not the case. So again, these guys, I think maybe it's very possible that they're offering fiber in some of these areas, but I clicked around, I couldn't find anything. All I'm finding as I'm clicking in this Fort Myers area is copper. But you can see again that, top speed that Comcast is offering is 1200 by 35. So that's what they're going to be marketing in the markets in this particular service area. So you see from Comcast, you get your flyer in the mail and it says, 1.2 gigabits per second internet service, way better than Lumen, right? So then Lumen's going to come out. They're going to upgrade this area with XGS-PON, and they're going to say 8 gigabits per second, way better than Comcast, way better than Xfinity. So they will have the upper hand then in marketing. But then people who are on Xfinity are going to go, well, you know what, my service is fast enough. So if they're not happy with that service for some other reason, such as bad customer service, they just don't like Comcast for some reason, they might consider switching. But that's a hassle. And you're probably not going to switch from 1.2 gigs to 1 gig. There's no reason to do that. And I don't think you're going to switch from 1.2 gigs to 8 gigs if the 8 gigs is really expensive. So the only thing I could see that Lumen might do, I don't know what Comcast is charging. Let's say they charge $80 a month for this. I don't know. I should have looked probably. Let's say they're charging $80 a month. Lumen is charging, what did we say it was? They're charging $65 a month for close to a gig. They may come in for $65 for a gig, and maybe they come in for $100 a month for 8 gigs. And again, that might be some way that they do that. And they then have the upper hand in marketing. They've got a product they can offer, and they might get a few takers at that price. I don't know. We'll have to see. But a lot of it is, again, just a marketing checkbox, or a marketing kind of be dominant in the market on what you can say you have. So that's what's going on there. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. If this was interesting or helpful, if you give me a like on the video, I'd like that. And then if you are not subscribed, go ahead and click the subscribe button and click the bell to be notified when I'm live. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time for Broadband Deployment News. Take care. Bye-bye.